right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Sandy B. I'm here with Spectrum Law Firm Miami, PLLC, a Florida estate planning law firm. And I wanted to hop on today to just talk briefly about a little bit of estate planning in a Q&A form. I find many times when I'm speaking, um, people have a lot of questions, and oftentimes I hear the same questions over and over and over again. And so I thought I'd hop on here, do a quick live, and obviously this video will be here for the replay as well. But do a quick video to talk a little bit about some of the common estate planning questions that I get on a regular basis. As some of you may know, but not all, I'm an estate planning attorney licensed to practice in Florida. I handle estate planning, probate, and guardianship matters throughout the state of Florida. And I've been seeing a lot of issues popping up in many of my probate and guardianship cases, which oftentimes triggers questions when it comes to estate planning. So I wanted to come on today. Please be sure to, if you're on YouTube, subscribe to this channel. Please like this video and share it. If you're on Facebook, if you're on LinkedIn, please again, like the video, share the video, and take advantage of this opportunity to just learn a little bit about estate planning. So the first question that I want to answer is, what is estate planning? Because we hear the words from time to time, but I don't feel like it's something that I grew up understanding. I don't feel like it's something that I grew up learning about or hearing in conversation. And so I first need to give a little bit of a definition. I'm going to try to keep it very simple. Estate planning is all of the intentions that you have, all of the thoughts and ideas that you have about what you own, who you're related to, who you're responsible for, and what you want to happen to those things if. And I always like to say, what happens if, because that is the core of estate planning. It's you answering that question with all of the different circumstances and nuances of your day-to-day life. You answering the question, what happens if? So we've defined estate planning. It's basically our process of coming up with the answers to all of the questions that may arise in our lives, all of the issues that may happen, and making sure that we have an answer to those things. Now, why is estate planning something that is so unknown or so just left to the side? Like, we don't feel like it's important. I think many times it's because we don't understand the value. We don't see where it connects with our day-to-day life. And so I can start off by giving some scenarios, and I'm going to go through some different life circumstances. So let's say that you are a single person and you have children. Because you are single and because you have children, there are some extra layers to the thought process when it comes to your estate plan. And so it's not just a simple thing of creating a will or having a power of attorney. You also have to create things that cover the circumstances related to your children and what you want to happen to those children and who you want to care for them and how they are supposed to receive whatever it is that you have and own. So a single person needs to plan not only for themselves individually, but they have to plan for the what ifs for their children if they have any. Now, if you are single and you don't have any children, many times I get the statement, well, I don't have anything and I'm just by myself, so I don't really need to do this. Well, again, what happens if? If you are a single person and you don't have children and you're not married, it's even more important for you to have some layers in place because your family is going to have to figure things out when something happens to you. And notice I didn't say if. When something happens to you, your family is going to have to figure it out. And I want you to put yourself in their shoes right now, trying to maneuver all the things that you do every day, trying to figure out what you own and where you own it, trying to access your digital assets online, trying to access monies in the bank, and trying to clear out all of the things that you have. You can only imagine that that is a huge task and a huge responsibility. So as a single person, it is really critical that you organize your information and make it simpler for those who would normally have to just figure things out. Now, if you are married, and I will say this, whether you're married as, you know, in regular states, you know, you get married and it's not like common law, or if you're common law marriage, you know, I'm going to talk about everyone who's married. If you are married, you not only have to have a plan for yourself, you have to have a plan for your spouse. And then you have to have a plan for the collective, because both of you have come together and you may have joint assets, you may have joint responsibilities like children, or joint responsibilities like aging parents that you are handling the care for. And so it's important that you kind of put some things into perspective and say, what's the plan for me? What's the plan for my spouse? What's the plan for us jointly? And what are the extensions of us as a couple and the extensions of us individually? And I like to kind of use the family tree as the example of the extensions. What's, you know, the upper level, you know, parents and grandparents, aunts and uncles and things like that. And then what about the children in our lives, the cousins, the siblings? You know, what types of things do we have in place to address all of the factors and people that are in our lives? For same-sex couples, I'm finding even more need for certain issues to be addressed when it comes to estate planning, because if you are a same-sex couple and you are not married, you're even like, I can't even explain how important it is for you to have some things in place. I can remember a number of times, especially during COVID, where I would get a call and it would be an individual who was in a relationship with somebody, and unfortunately they weren't married, so they didn't have certain things together, and they did not have any documents in place to allow their partner to act on their behalf or to speak on their behalf. And so you get into a really touchy place because you're not married, so there is no legal relationship there, and you don't have any documents to show that the intention of your loved one is to have you speak on their behalf. So as you can see in going through these scenarios, there's so many different layers and things that we have to account for. If you are living with somebody or in a long-term relationship with somebody that maybe is your lifetime partner, it is important that you identify what it is that you're going to need when something happens to your partner, and make sure that you put those important things into place. Now, we've talked a little bit about the definition of estate planning. We've talked about some scenarios and why, you know, maybe we have trouble trying to get our plans together. And then we've talked about some situations when it comes to estate planning that may require some layers, some nuances, that may require you to kind of go up and down the family tree a bit to make sure that you cover all of your bases. Now, why do we find such difficulty in saying to ourselves, let me get my will done. Let me get my power of attorney done. Let me get my healthcare documents done. I think one answer is cost. Estate planning can be costly, but estate planning is not as costly as guardianship. Estate planning is not as costly as probate. And so if you really want to be mindful of cost, the best thing that you can do to save yourself and your family thousands of dollars is make sure that you have a core plan in place. So what does a core plan look like? What do I need to have in place in order to say that I have an estate plan that will likely cover a lot of basics for me? Well, the first is thinking about life and life after death. So while you're living, there are things that you need to be sure are addressed: your medical, your financial, and your activities of daily living. So you have to get some documents in place according to your circumstances that will allow a representative to act on your behalf in those three areas: medical, financial, activities of daily living. So I call these living docs. Oftentimes these will be in the form of a durable power of attorney for your finances, a living will and healthcare designation for your medical care. And many times people will have some other things in place, like beneficiary designations on accounts and things like that. Now, when it comes to after you pass away, there's an important thing to understand, and it's that if you only have a will, you may find yourself in a court process called probate. If you don't have a will, you'll definitely find yourself in a process called probate if there are some assets that need to be accessed. When it comes to trying to control what you have beyond the grave, like after you pass away, there are different types of trust that may allow you to have some say in what happens to your money even after you pass away. And so I hear a lot of people saying, hey, get a trust, put everything in a trust. Consult with a professional. Make sure that you understand what you're doing with your trust, because it's not something that you do lightly. So again, living documents, living will, healthcare designation, we got durable power of attorney, or in some states, they're called medical power of attorney and financial power of attorney. And then you also want to look at, do I have beneficiaries on different things? Do I have people listed as my, next of kin or agent or representative on any accounts that I have? And one account set or category that I think is really critical that we don't think about a lot is digital assets. That's everything that's in the digital space. So if you're a content creator, a YouTuber, if you're on Facebook or Instagram and you're creating and pumping out content, if you sell books and ebooks and products and other services, all of the digitally created things that you have, those are your assets as well. And then crypto, the metaverse, all of those things need to be dived into so that you can figure out what you need. Now, when it comes to after your death, please understand, having a will does not mean that you can exclude the court process. It's all dependent upon what assets you have. And that's why it's important when you're doing the estate planning process that you have to organize things into categories to understand what you need for each category of things. So that if you do have a will, well, maybe your will is in place to just talk about the distribution of your personal effects, the things that you own in your household, or your personal items like jewelry or artwork. But to transfer things like real estate, to transfer money in a bank or a financial institution or other accounts, you will likely have to go through a court process if you only have a will in place and you don't have any other documents that address those things. And what is one thing that you can do when it comes to estate planning that does not involve the creation of documents? The most important thing that you can do is list beneficiary designations on any and all accounts that allow for that. And that also includes looking at your digital assets, your crypto, metaverse stuff, anything that's in the online space. YouTube, for example, has a whole process that you have to go through to identify whether or not you want your account to live beyond you and whether or not you want certain people to have access to your account. The same goes for your email accounts and other, you have to look at the terms and conditions of your different accounts and make sure that you tune into your digital assets. So guys, I'm not going to stay on too long because I wanted to make sure that this was a really short video that you can take bites of. So I'm going to end with this question. Why is estate planning important? Estate planning is important because it is the opportunity for your voice to be heard, for your intentions to be followed, and for you to be able to decide what happens if something happens to you. And better yet, it should be what happens when something happens to you. It's for you to dictate what the steps are that will be taken and who is going to step in on your behalf and who is going to handle this, that, and the third. And finally, who is to receive all that you own on your terms. So I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. I plan on coming to you with a couple more videos as we are rounding out National Estate Planning Awareness Week. If you haven't done so already, you can check out, my TikTok, Spectrum Law Firm. You can check out Instagram, Spectrum Law, Twitter, Spectrum Law. We're on Facebook, The Spectrum Law Firm, and on LinkedIn at Spectrum Law Firm Miami PLLC. You are watching right now from my YouTube, which is Spectrum Law. And I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please like the video, share it, drop a comment, and let me know your thoughts, or let me know if you have any questions that I can answer in my next video. I hope you guys have a great one. Thank you so much for tuning in.